Business Bites with Invest Northern Ireland. Thinking of growing your sales outside Northern Ireland? Visit investni.com/export for help and advice to go further and grow stronger in export markets.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Business Bites from Bauer Media Audio here in Northern Ireland. My name is David Tye, the Managing Director of Bauer Media Audio Northern Ireland, and each week it's my pleasure to bring in a special guest to talk business with. Well, this week we have a Northern Ireland advertising and marketing industry legend, and his name is Tim McKane from Tim McKane Communications. Tim, welcome to Business Bites.
Well, David, it's a delight to be here. I'm very pleased to be asked.
Well, it's great to have you. We could be here for half an hour if we were talking about your career, but I think your career is online for anyone to Google. It's all there, but let's just say it's been a lifetime in advertising and marketing. So you do know your stuff.
Yep.
Let's go straight in with a question around the Northern Ireland Business Facebook group. So Business Bites is here to help local businesses. We established this in the lockdown. You established the Northern Ireland Business Facebook group. Tell us about what was behind it and where it's going and what you do on that group.
Well, what was behind it was really, I was looking for a place myself. I was looking to see if there was a Northern Ireland Business Facebook group that I could participate in, and I found there wasn't one, so I set it up. I shared it with some friends and some in the business community, and they started sharing it. So having started on a Friday afternoon, by the following Tuesday, with 2,000 people, and it's continued to grow ever since. It's a phenomenon, I have to say. I will pretend that I knew that was going to happen, but of course I didn't. But we're now sitting at about 52,000 members, of whom a huge number are small businesses. And it's an opportunity for small businesses, not just to network, which some of the other networks obviously provide a very good service for, but this is to actually do business. And I suppose that's been the biggest success of it. When people are looking for suppliers, looking for, we get all sorts of things. Can somebody transport something to England for me tomorrow? Can somebody, where can I find a digital marketing support person in Armagh? So it's the range of questions covers every single aspect of business. And it's an opportunity for those small businesses that are really the unsung heroes of our economy. We hear very little about them in the traditional media, but I have a huge admiration for anybody who starts a business, because one, they're very adventurous and they're taking a risk, but they have to learn so much to keep that business going. If you take a hairdresser who leaves a job to set up on their own, they then have to learn about tax, about rent, about rates, all sorts of things. And they get on with it. And anyone who does a business has to learn so much. And I just love to be able to provide a service for them.
Brilliant stuff. Have you noticed, is it just people looking to do business, or is there some sort of commentary going in there about common themes that are around and about? So if there are those common themes, what do you think what do you think people are thinking right now, especially with next year looming and all the sort of slightly doom and gloom predictions?
Yeah, the one thing we do avoid, and I think it's part of the success of the business, we're not a lobby group, and we're not going to be a lobby group. But what we do find is that small businesses, they understand the market. They're really fighting the current economic conditions as hard as they can, and they're pushing themselves out. But we also offer business advice, so people will come in and ask for questions about specific topics, and the members of the group will come in and help them. And it's that collaboration element that has been one of the big successes as well. We have a number of rules. We don't talk about politics. And as we started during COVID, we didn't get involved in the debates that arose from there. We don't talk about Brexit because and anytime anyone had posted something like that, it did start an opinionated discussion, which we didn't think it wasn't what we were set up for. So it has cleaned that out to an extent, and it lets people come in knowing that they're not going to have to debate certain issues. They're going to get support. And we've done some work with some sponsors. And last year, we actually acted on behalf of Invest Northern Ireland to help them get in touch with our business members to help them with what was going to happen in the first stages of Brexit. So we were there to support them, not to debate the ins and outs of it.
Okay. And I suppose this all aligns to your other passion, which is this Voice for Locals initiative. So for the uninitiated, what is Voice for Locals?
Voice for Locals is part of the UK government levelling up scheme. And there was an amount of money allocated to Northern Ireland, and of that money allocated to Northern Ireland, a certain amount was allocated to Voice for Locals. It's an initiative to help small businesses level up their digital skills. And when you look at an environment whereby we're seeing so many, we see so many vans of the major online retailer in Northern Ireland now, and small businesses need to help get into that space where they can deliver a communications platform, they can engage with their customers better, that they can create a better customer experience to build on being local. I mean, the one key advantage local businesses have is being local. And with Voice for Locals, what it enables them to do is to capture data of local customers, engage with them, get them to like their pages, get them to, and also to get some training. There's free training available at the moment, which is really simple. It's online. It takes just about an hour. I did it, and even with my experience, it was a really good reminder of what you need to do and keep the customer first. That's the biggest thing in any business. As you will know, it's always about customer focus. And sometimes we lose that and we lose sight of it. And I found the Voice for Locals training to be super, just for reminding me, yeah, we need to get our businesses to do that. Simple things like, when somebody comes into a shop or uses you as a tradesman, get them to leave some feedback. Then you capture the data, then you can engage with them, offer them special deals and things like that. So there's lots of opportunities there.
You also talk a lot about shopping locally. What do you believe is important about that particular idea of shopping locally?
I think it's a friend of mine told me a very simple story, and it explained it all. £100 spent locally travels around the economy. It's used, that £100 is used over and over again. And he told me a very brief story about an American arriving at a hotel in Enniskillen wanting to look at a room. The hotel owner asked him for £100 deposit. He handed it over in cash. The owner gave it to his assistant on his bike, told him to go down and pay for the steaks they'd sold last night. And then the butcher gives that £100 to the farmer that he bought the steaks on. The farmer gives it to the guy who works for him. He gives it to his wife. She uses it in the local store. The store owner then goes back up to the hotel and says, that's the deposit for my daughter's wedding. And the American guy comes down again, and the hotel owner hands the £100 back to him. And that £100 has generated all that investment and revenue and cost from one single local spend. £100 spent outside of Northern Ireland is gone. And so we all have a responsibility, whether it's businesses or customers, to look for local suppliers wherever possible. And that's where, whenever, again, the Voice for Locals, voiceforlocals.shop is a growing directory of local businesses that people can find local suppliers, local stores, local cafes, all sorts of local businesses, so that they can, and nobody's going to stop using online and retail. We don't expect that. But to give a look, take a bit of time and have a look and see if you can buy local, because it does make a difference. And even those of us who are spending the money locally benefit from the local economy improving. So it's very, very important, and it's easy to do. It just takes a little bit of effort on everyone's part to think, rather than just taking the simple route and getting it sent from across the water, just spend a bit of time and thinking, you know what? And then you enjoy going out. If you've got to go out to a local shop, walking down the high street, you bump into people, you've all the enjoyment of shopping. So I think it's vital for our economy, and I think we can all play a part. I think that's the main thing.
Great story. Tim, we've got about 1 minute left of our conversation, and I couldn't finish this conversation without mentioning your late father. We have a connection. He placed the first ever order on downtown radio for advertising way back in 1976. Yeah. If you can summarize the story very, very quickly for us, just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Dad heard that radio, there was going to be commercial radio in Northern Ireland, and he wrote the first order almost over a year, I think, before the first broadcast happened, because he wanted to have the first radio ad on air, but he also saw the future and knew that radio was going to be a really important addition to the media scene. So he wrote an order, and as a telegram, actually, hand wrote a telegram, and it's his signature on it. to the Belfast Telegraph were involved at the time for the launch of Downtown Radio. And so the first ad ever broadcast was Cookstown Sausages, which Dad's agency, BPA, were doing the campaigns for. So I have it on my wall. I'm very proud of it. It was a great bit of innovation.
And to take your analogy of the money going round, that first bit of money that came in for commercial radio advertising for Downtown is probably still circulating with inflation now in the system. So
absolutely,
that's a great illustration of and a lovely story. And we hope that there's many more of those to come in the future. Tim, it's been a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you so much for your insight today.
Thanks very much for having me. Cheers.
Business Bites with Invest Northern Ireland. Go further and grow stronger with Invest NI. Visit investni.com/export to reach your exporting potential. Invest NI. Go further and grow stronger.